The East Coast getting slammed with lots of snow and strong winds. I'm Alexis McAdams. All of the latest in New York City coming up.
Plus, we're taking you to the Pink Chute Archery Tournament in Carl Junction. Also, if you're interested in becoming a beekeeper, class in Columbus is aiming to get you started. And speaking of classes, who wouldn't want to make their own soap? We're going to take you to a soap making class over in Riverton.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Chris Warner. A Miami man is in police custody following a car chase, and police say there were multiple shots fired. Authorities say they got a call around 8 this morning saying that 2 vehicles were chasing each other and a person in one car was shooting at the other car. The 2 eventually stopped and one person got out of a car and began shooting at the other car again. Now, officers later located that car and that the shots had been fired from. They discovered 2 men in the car and took one of them into custody. That investigation is still underway. Emergency crews respond to a report of multiple vehicles off the road on the east side of Joplin. What you're seeing behind me is dash cam video from Caleb Bratcher. Now, he tells us he was approaching the scene unaware as to what was going on. And here's what happened. Just before 5 this evening, Missouri State Highway Patrol Trooper Joe Drum says 6 vehicles crashed along Missouri 249 North at the Zora exit. The reason for the crash? Thousands of pounds of manure scattered across the highway. Officials say the cow manure was very slick, leading to the crashes. 1 vehicle overturned. Thankfully, no one was injured. Multiple agencies responded to assist the Dunnaweg Fire Department. East Coast getting slammed this weekend, by far its biggest storm of the season. Fox News correspondent Alexis McAdams reports from New York.
A historic winter storm pummeling the Northeast this weekend, blanketing New Jersey all the way up to Maine. The governors of multiple states declaring emergencies in anticipation of an all-day whiteout.
High winds, heavy snow, blizzard conditions, all the elements of a classic nor'easter, and that's what we're dealing with right now.
That snowfall could be some of the heaviest seen in years in New England and in the tri-state, up to 2 feet or more falling in some areas, with wind gusts near the coast reaching 70 miles per hour. Around 6,000 flights have been canceled through this weekend, including nearly all planes heading in and out of New York, Boston, and Philadelphia. Plows working around the clock amid a shortage of drivers as Boston put some 900 crews to work on Saturday morning. Some nearby towns offering contractors rates of nearly $200 an hour just to get the job done. Officials tell us the best way to help out is to stay off the road.
Stay safe, stay in your house. It's getting too bad to go out. If you need somebody, if you have an emergency, call 911. We'll come and get you. But at this point, your best bet is just stay where you are and hunkering down.
The snow expected to fall for several hours, and the cleanup will take at least a couple of days. In New York, Alexis McAdams, Fox News.
Thankfully, nothing like that in our area, but snow may be on the way. Nick Kelly joins us.
Thankfully, it's not anytime soon, Chris. Couple that with a lot of sunshine today. Thankfully, we didn't have any threatening weather, severe or wintry, to worry about. 20 this morning, the downright cold start, but not looking bad this afternoon, topping out around 58 degrees. And that's because we had mostly sunny skies once again all throughout the course of the day, as Doug advertised the other day. But we have a weak cold front just to the north of the region. It's going to graze us as we go through the day tomorrow. Doesn't really want to pass on through per se, but it's going to try to bring temperatures down a little bit. We're still going to end the weekend on a good note. We just got to get past another cold night ahead of us. We're already dropping back mainly into the upper 30s and lower 40s across a good portion of the area. I think eventually, with maybe despite some overnight cloud cover in a few spots, we'll drop back to 28 first thing in the morning. Maybe some early afternoon, partly sunny skies, but in general, we're going to see highs back in the mid-50s for tomorrow. And even though we're not going to see a nor'easter like the Northeast did, Chris, we do have a storm system to watch for the middle of next week. We'll break that down here in a bit.
All right, Nick, thank you. Carl Junction High School played host to well over 1,000 archery students from more than 50 schools today. This is their annual Pink Chute, which brings together archery students from across the region. The reason it's the Pink Chute is they work to get Hope for You Breast Cancer Foundation involved, and they help raise money for them throughout the day. For some of the competitors, including the coach, this tournament means a lot to them.
It means a lot for us. We have some archers on our team that have personally been impacted, so it's kind of personal. My grandmother was a fighter for years to breast cancer, and she passed away years ago. But it's just a cause that we really like to stand behind and get behind.
This is the 6th year that CJ has hosted the tournament. Cherokee County Area Beekeepers Club hosted a beginner beekeeping class today. The class was hosted in partnership with the Cherokee County K-State Research and Extension Office. A number of topics were covered, including bee biology, equipment and supplies, as well as taking care of and acquiring those important bees.
It's very important for the pollination of our flowers and our crops. It's very important to keep our bees around because that's what pollinates our food supply. 90% of our food is pollinated with the bees, so if we don't have the bees and other pollinators such as hummingbirds and the birds, we would be without a major food chain.
Now, there was also a hands-on activity assembling a hive that was to be given away at the end of the class. First Baptist Church of Riverton hosted a soap making class today. Now, this class was open to all ladies ages 16 and up. In the class, the women learned how to make soap, of course, and the importance of homemade soap, which gives you control of the ingredients, color, and fragrance. Of course, it also allows for some creativity, giving you a unique soap that you can't find anywhere else.
Anything that you could do at home instead are the conversations that we want to have so that we have less reliability on the grocery store, because COVID really has shown us that accessibility is hard during these times, and two, the price is so high. So looking at anything we can do to be more economical and share our resources and grow together.
Now, each lady went home with 6 bars of soap and some recipes. The Spiva Center for the Arts held an entry-level photography class for a dozen kids. Now, children 10 and younger were able to learn the basics of photography with some pretty hands-on experience. They were each given their own camera that they will be able to take home for a week to continue to hone their skills. In March, they're going to return to the center and have their own exhibit showing off their art.
Our goal is to get kids as young as possible to learn about art and how to have fun with art and not be intimidated by art. You know, everybody's an artist. It doesn't matter whether somebody else thinks your work is good or not. It's what you like and you having fun doing it.
Now, Susan says they have multiple school buses with 50 or more students a day coming to Spiva, with kids getting to learn and create their own art. She also says that, as you may or may not know, there's a new Spiva Center being built that should be finished by the fall, and this will allow them to host even more events for people of all ages. Today in Seneca, Magnolia Mills Clothing Company helped host the Valentine's Vendors Bash. Now, this event gives upcoming vendors an opportunity to get exposure and build potential clients. For a 6-hour period, vendors were able to set up shop and show off their products.
I just feel like in a small community like we're in this area, supporting small businesses is very important to your community, and they all really appreciate it.
And Marissa says that the small business and vendors are a strong community, that there's a family feeling to it. She also said that up-and-coming vendors should not only attend events like these, but they should also build a social media presence because it's the fastest way to get some exposure. Susan Babcock works in insurance, but her passion is art. This evening at the Oswego Senior Center, Susan, no different than today, puts on what she calls a paint party. They can be private, or like today's party, they can be public. Now, although the holiday season has passed, winter is still upon us and in full swing, as Nick alluded to. Susan and her students painted snowmen decorations that you can put up on your door.
We have a very good community here. Everyone likes to get together. We do that. In even the local other towns close by, we like to get together and paint.
Now, Susan said because of COVID, the gatherings have not been as large as they used to be, but she remains grateful that they're still able to meet. She has options for those that still are uncomfortable to meet in person. She provides kits with all the supplies and instructions to the project for the party. And we take this time now to honor one of our many four-state heroes. Airman Second Class Lindell Mayfield served in the Air Force from 1956 to 1960. His hometown, Irwin, Missouri. And we're proud to recognize Airman Second Class Lindell Mayfield, tonight's four-state hero. And of course, to learn more about other heroes or nominate one of your own, just go over to KOAMNewsNow.com. Still ahead on the news at 9, how a common and easy medical procedure could help you determine your risks with COVID.
It was certainly nice to keep this quiet for the weekend so far, and certainly nice that temperatures were able to rebound after a cold front came through the other day and left us flat out cold for Friday afternoon. In fact, we only made it mainly into the mid-30s around the Joplin area, especially around the airport yesterday afternoon. But after a quick dip near 20 this morning, we're going to have a catapulted almost 40 degrees today, pushing 58 at Joplin Regional, and many of us pushing at least mid to upper 50s for today. We're going to keep things nice, though, for the next few days at least, certainly to start early next week out, with partly to mostly sunny skies and 50s and 60s on the docket for tomorrow and Monday. Then, sticking with Doug's pattern, we get back into an active stretch, still watching a storm system, still set for the middle of next week, and then behind that, turning quite a bit colder with more Arctic air wanting to return, certainly by the end of the coming week. But we're still in good shape right now, though. 913, the 7th range line on the Saturday night. Not looking bad. 45 in Joplin with the southwest wind at 7, giving us a little bit of a wind chill. Still doesn't feel too bad. Feels like 41 degrees outside. A couple outlying areas outside of Joplin have already tried to sneak back into the lower 30s, like Parsons at 32, 30 at Stockton Lake, 32 in Nevada. The vast majority of us, though, are in the mid-30s to almost the lower 40s. But it's these winds, however, earlier today, at about 10 to 20 miles per hour continue to die down. That, with generally quiet skies, is what's going to allow us to drop back into the 20s again before we enjoy another nice chilly day to wrap up the weekend. I really have not had much to track throughout much of the day. We had nothing but mostly sunny skies. A little cloud cover trying to sneak in from the north ahead of let's say a weak cold front, not really wanting to work on through. This storm system, though, is nothing compared to the nor'easter that the upper New England part of the lower 48 is just about ready to wrap up. Overall, though, you can see how the jet wants to really lift back to the north and east, keeping us above normal for the next few days. Then it's these waves out west from the Gulf of Alaska and even in the Pacific. Those are ones that we're watching really closely, especially as we head toward the middle of next week. In the short term, though, again, maybe a little bit of that cloud cover sneaking in for some spots overnight, but in general, we keep it as quiet as can be. And on the cold side again, most of us this time around, I think we'll drop back to about 28 degrees to start the day out. And despite a north breeze, it's going to be really light throughout the day. Maybe some afternoon cloud cover early keeps us at 48 by noon, but we'll top out around 54 in downtown Joplin tomorrow. In fact, I think everyone's fair game to go, let's say, lower 50s from Stockton Lake to mid to upper 50s elsewhere. So not looking bad to wrap up the weekend. Now and then, the focus turns to not this wave passing to our south, but the jet stream setup keeps us partly sunny and gets us into the 60s for Monday. Then we got to watch how this upper level wave evolves. Before it really gets going, rain chances kick us off on Tuesday. Then we've got a wintry mix of freezing rain, sleet, and snow for Wednesday, and then ending in sleet and snow for Thursday before we clear out, but turn quite cold for your Friday. But I do want to point out a few quick things. It's still way too early to say who will get how much of what, but with the way things are looking, let's just plan on rain chances Tuesday, wintry weather on Wednesday and Thursday, and as we roll into 7-day, an Arctic blast behind that system. 54 tomorrow, 63 Monday. We'll go from the 50s on Tuesday, Chris, to 20s Wednesday and Thursday. Then 2 Friday morning before we bounce back to 24 Friday and 35 Saturday.
I see your little groundhog. I hope he predicts
he's
early
not
spring.
He's not seeing his shadow on Wednesday.
He better. Nick, thank you so much. Up next, 2 nurses are arrested in New York. We'll tell you what they were selling that put them behind bars.
Niner.
a common and easy medical procedure could help you determine your risks with COVID. Researchers at University Hospital in Zurich, Switzerland say in a study, blood tests could unlock information in knowing a person's risks for long COVID. The study looked at 500 patients starting in early 2020. They examined antibody levels in immune systems, which are supposed to rise to fight infections. Scientists say blood tests could help uncover whose systems are good or at risk when including other health factors. The study is in the journal Nature Communications. 2 Long Island, New York nurses face forgery charges for allegedly making fake COVID-19 vaccination cards and profiting from it. 49-year-old Julie Devano and 41-year-old Marissa Uraro were arrested Thursday and arraigned Friday in Suffolk County District Court. Now, Devano is owner and operator of Wild Child Pediatric Health Care, with Uraro as an employee. The district attorney says the pair allegedly forged cards to show vaccine doses were given when they weren't. False information was then allegedly entered into a state health database. Prosecutors say searchers of Devano's home uncovered a ledger detailing profits of more than $1.5 million, along with $900,000 in cash. Devano and Uraro are due back in court on February the 8th. Truckers and other activists opposed to cross-border vaccine mandates are set to rally in Ottawa, Canada today. Several teams of truckers and supporters across the country have been making their way to the nation's capital as part of a Freedom Convoy. They've raised nearly $8 million along the way. The Freedom Convoy began in part over a federal government decision to impose a vaccine mandate on cross-border Canadian truckers. It requires those who are unvaccinated to quarantine when returning to Canada. Up to 10,000 demonstrators are expected at the rally. The U.S. has imposed a similar mandate, by the way, with unvaccinated truckers required to quarantine when entering the country. A North Carolina man in need of a life-saving kidney transplant says he would rather die than get the COVID vaccine. That stark outcome could be a possibility because a hospital in Winston-Salem is refusing to do the procedure unless he gets vaccinated. Dave Faraday has the story.
Chad Carswell has faced many hurdles in his life. He's a double amputee and has undergone major surgeries on his heart. But it is his kidney, which is only functioning at 4%, that has him undergoing dialysis 3 times a week, leaving him in need of a transplant.
Without one, there's no telling how much longer I'll still be here, but I have to have a kidney, to prolong my life.
Carswell says that friends and local businesses raised money for the transplant. He then came here to Baptist Hospital in Winston-Salem, where scans and tests were done. But then he was told he needed something else, to be fully vaccinated.
He said, the last thing we need to talk about is your vaccination status. And that's when I politely told him there was nothing really to talk about. It wasn't up for debate, that I wasn't getting it. And then he told me, you'll die if you don't get it. And I said, I'm willing to die.
Carswell says he was also told anyone wanting to donate also had to be vaccinated. The hospital says their policy follows the current standard of care in the United States, saying in a statement, the reason it is recommended is to provide protection for the patient. Transplant patients are at high risk for severe illness if they don't have pre-existing immunity prior to being transplanted. Carswell says he's had COVID-19 twice and doesn't believe he needs the vaccine, even if it means he can't get his surgery.
I've not changed my mind. I've had conversations with my family and everybody that's close to me. They know where I stand, and there'll not be a situation that occurs that I will choose to change my mind on this topic. No, sir.
Reporting in Winston-Salem, I'm Dave Faraday.
Coming up, another music icon joins the fall away from Spotify and tries to pull her music off the audio streaming site. Another music icon has joined the fall away from Spotify, and she's trying to pull her music off the audio streaming site. Now, folk rock artist Joni Mitchell said on Friday she's going to join singer Neil Young and have her music removed from Spotify. 2 icons are protesting the streaming service due to its support of podcaster Joe Rogan. The popular podcaster is under fire for allegedly spreading COVID vaccine misinformation. The Big Yellow Taxi singer saying in part, quote, irresponsible people are spreading lies that are costing people their lives. Now, Spotify has not commented on Mitchell's request. Shake Shack is helping NFL football fans keep their TV remotes clean this weekend by bringing a popular game treat under the bun. You can have your buffalo wings with no messy fingers now. See, Shake Shack is putting buffalo wings inside the buns and adding buffalo spices to fries. The wings chicken sandwich is covered in buffalo sauce and topped with ranch sauce and served over pickles and shredded lettuce on a toasted potato bun. Buffalo spiced crinkle cut cheese fries have their own buffalo seasoning. The two new treats run until April the 25th. Unfortunately, though, the price to please your snack attacks could be going up, especially from one well-known company. Mondelez International, the parent company of Nabisco products like Oreos, Chips Ahoy, Ritz crackers, and other favorites, may be raising its prices again. The company says ongoing issues in raw materials, shipping delays, and labor shortages could cause the price hikes. Now, Mondelez says commodity suppliers in wheat and sugar are also raising their own prices. The company announced price increases last November of 6 to 7% over inflation costs. Staffing shortages in some of our nation's schools have become such a serious problem, even members of the National Guard are being asked to help out. It's part of an effort to keep students in the classrooms instead of trying to learn remotely. Fox Business's Madison Allworth takes a look.
With staff shortages persisting in classrooms, volunteers and even the National Guard are being asked to step in to fill in for teachers. Disruptions to learning like this are definitely not good. It keeps the classroom open, but at what cost? President Biden is touting how 95% of public schools are now fully open, but many are relying on those volunteers and underqualified substitutes. In New Mexico, the governor is calling on the National Guard to volunteer to become licensed substitute teachers as schools struggle to stay open. Since winter break, approximately 60 school districts and charter schools have needed to move to temporary remote learning because of staff shortages. In Hamburg Central School District in New York, staff has worked hard to hit their goal of keeping schools open all 180 days. To do so, administrators have filled in for principals, retired teachers are being paid to work on a day-to-day basis, and college seniors that are studying education have been hired as substitutes. All of this to keep schools open. But the stopgap measures are not problem-free.
We have teachers in the classroom for multiple reasons. First of all, because they're subject matter experts. So having individuals in the classroom who have other duties and responsibilities outside of working with students during some of these, difficult times, it doesn't help learning.
These efforts are preventing kids from being forced into virtual learning. So while the measures are not perfect, it is doing an important job. The effects of virtual and disrupted learning are still being understood, but take a look at this. For the first time in nearly 2 decades, graduation rates dropped in at least 20 states during the first full year of COVID-19 disruptions and virtual learning. All of this happening despite the distribution of $122 billion to schools for COVID-19 relief funding, leaving experts desperate for a change in our current school systems. Back to you.
We're wrapping up this half hour of the News at 9 with a new face on the Cinnamon Toast Crunch Box. A young Olympic snowboarding champion gets in on the crunch of celebrity fame while kids crunch on it with her. Chloe Kim, a 4-time X Games gold medal winner who also won a 2018 Winter Olympics gold medal in the halfpipe snowboarding event, is now a cereal box star. Kim is now the cover girl for General Mills Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal, which is now renamed for her as Chloe Toast Crunch. Limited edition boxes are available at Walmart for $3.64. Kim will lead U.S. snowboarders into the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics. Coming up, more transparency will be coming to New York City job postings. Plus, the National Transportation Safety Board is on scene of a bridge collapse in Pittsburgh. Also, U.S. and Canadian athletes are starting to arrive in Beijing in preparation for the Winter Olympics, and the Russian military troop buildup continues on the border with Ukraine. Welcome back. More transparency coming to New York City job postings. Now, under a new city law that begins in May, companies are now required to list the minimum and maximum salaries whenever they post a job opening. The measure was put in place to hopefully address the gender pay gaps by providing more transparency around pay right off the bat. The National Transportation Safety Board is on scene of a bridge collapse in Pittsburgh. Several vehicles were on the bridge when it fell early Friday morning. The collapse happened just miles from where President Biden was scheduled to tout his trillion-dollar infrastructure law. Officials reported only 10 injuries. 3 people were taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. According to the White House, at least 43,000 bridges across the country are in poor condition. And the cause of the collapse is under investigation. The bridge was last inspected in September of last year. U.S. and Canadian athletes are starting to arrive in Beijing in preparation for the Winter Olympics. After landing on Friday, the athletes went through various COVID and quarantine procedures. According to the International Olympic Committee, all athletes are required to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19 or must quarantine for 21 days in order to participate in this year's games. The Winter Olympics will run from February 4th through the 20th. The Russian military troop buildup continues on the border with Ukraine. Meanwhile, military vehicles and Russian troops also arrived near Belarus's southern border on Saturday, an area that is just under 50 miles from the Ukrainian capital of Kiev. In addition to sending more troops and equipment to Belarus for joint training drills, the Russian military is also holding drills in the Black Sea. NATO allies are keeping an eye on all areas as worries grow over a possible Russian invasion into Ukraine. And as those Russian troop buildup continues to increase along the border, President Biden responding to the growing Russian threat by announcing the deployment of U.S. troops to Eastern Europe. Fox News correspondent Lucas Tomlinson has the story.
The U.S. military's top general calling it the largest buildup of Russian forces since the Cold War. Over 100,000 now massed on Ukraine's border. President Biden said he's ordered some American troops to pack their bags.
I'll be moving U.S. troops to Eastern Europe and the NATO countries in the near term. Not a lot.
General Milley says a Russian invasion could happen at any time.
There's a potential that they could launch on very, very little warning. That's possible. And there's a wide scale of options that are available to Russian leadership.
The Russian Defense Ministry releasing this video showing air defense units arriving in Belarus by rail. Following reports the railroad had been hacked. Thousands of Russian troops and dozens of strike aircraft now in Belarus, just 60 miles from Ukraine's capital city. Congressman Mike Turner thinks the White House should have moved quicker.
They should have been giving lethal weapons to Ukraine so they can defend themselves. Just now, they're talking about moving troops into the NATO countries that are in the area.
The Pentagon says Russia now has enough firepower to launch a full-scale invasion, causing significant casualties and destruction.
This is larger in scale and scope and the massing of forces than anything we have seen in recent memory, and I think you'd have to go back quite a while into the Cold War days to see something of this magnitude.
Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said conflict in Ukraine is not inevitable and called for more time to resolve the crisis diplomatically. In Washington, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
Later on the KOAM News at 9, we're taking a look at the Ford Escape plug-in hybrid.
We are thankfully staying quiet throughout the rest of this weekend, and we're going to salvage it before we see the active stretch of Doug's pattern kick right back into gear. But as far as this weekend's been going so far, it's definitely off to a cold start with another cold front that swept on through Friday, allowing highs to only top out in the mid-30s, especially at Joplin Regional. But you can see how after we started quite cold at 20 this morning, we almost shot 40 degrees warmer at Joplin Regional with the airport topping out at 58. These are numbers that will stick around for the next few days before we see quite a change. And spoiler alert, winter's not done. It's going to be ready to roar right back in by the middle of the coming week. But right down 940, looking okay at 7th and Rangeline. 45 in Joplin with the southwest wind at 7, making it feel like 41. But look at our dew point, 18 degrees. So our humidity is quite low at 34%, meaning we're not going to have any active weather coming on in. So this is going to be a dry and quiet night for everybody. But look at how cold it's getting for some spots already. 33 in Parsons and Stockton Lake, 34 in Nevada. Other spots are in the mid to upper 30s, but we have some spots like Yates Center 42, Joplin at 45, 41 in Monette and Neosho. Eventually, though, all these numbers will settle back into the upper 20s, maybe mid to upper 20s actually as we go through the overnight, because with generally mostly clear skies in place for tonight and a calmer breeze now instead of the 10 to 20 miles per hour breeze that we saw during the day, that's a setup that will allow us to drop off quite a bit still. And even with a little bit of cloud cover coming in from the north, this is generally upper level clouds that really won't have an effect on temperatures. In fact, again, it's going to be a cold night. Here's the surface setup. This cold front not really wanting to pass on through tomorrow, but it's going to be around, so temperatures a little bit cooler for tomorrow. But the overall jet stream setup shows that this temporary ridge will keep us in the 50s and 60s for the next few days before we really see these two upper level lows out in the Pacific. That's what we're watching closely as this starts to head our way, certainly by the middle of next week. In the short term, though, again, a little cloud cover coming in from the north, but in general, we'll keep skies quiet. And it will be another cold night as we head into our Sunday with overnight lows dropping off, many of you, right around 28 degrees. Thankfully, though, we're dry for the entire day tomorrow. Maybe some early afternoon cloud cover, but generally partly sunny to mostly sunny, with highs topping out around 54 and Joplin with, in fact, a light north breeze in general at 5 miles per hour. In fact, most of us will be mid to upper 50s for afternoon highs tomorrow. The jet stream setup as we go through the rest of the week has us underneath the ridge for Monday, partly sunny skies. That will send us into the 60s, mainly lower 60s for Monday. Then here comes Tuesday, as this upper level setup really kicks into gear with an advancing storm system. We'll start off with rain chances with this setup on Tuesday. Rain, freezing rain to sleet and snow chances throughout the day on Wednesday, ending as snow chances Thursday. And then we're going to finish it all off with the bulk of the Arctic cold ready to roll right on in as we head toward Friday. Now, before we get to the 7-day, still too early to say for sure who will get how much of what. But as long as this setup holds, let's just plan on rain chances Tuesday, wintry weather for the middle of the week, and definitely another shot of Arctic air by the end of the week. So we better enjoy highs from 54 tomorrow, 63 on Monday, Chris, before we go into the 50s on Tuesday, 20s Wednesday and Thursday, dropping to 2 Friday morning, and then 24. That's the best we can do for Friday.
I need one of those little pens, the telestrators, so I can just X out the last few days of your forecast. And because, you know, if we do that, that means it's not going to happen, right? That's how that pen works.
I like the idea. Hopefully that can work at some point.
We'll have to give it a try. Yeah. Nick, thank you so much. Coming up in sports, the Pitt State women aim to go 2-0 in games this week. Plus, Missouri Southern is on a 6-game winning streak. Danny Terzer, she's joining us with those highlights next.
The Missouri Southern women have won their last 6 games. That's the longest active win streak in the MIAA. Southern has a chance to extend that streak even further today against Northeastern State. In the first, Lacey Stokes straight to work, gets the basket for 2. Then Lane Skiles from the corner knocks down the 3. She finishes with 8 points and 7 rebounds. Riverhawks now go on a little run. Ashton Hackler for 3. Ties the game at 17. Later in the third, Caitlin Honeycutt turns it on in the second half, gets the layup here. And back to Stokes, able to separate and hit her shot. Stokes leads the way with 20 points, her 6th game with 20 or more this season. She also had 7 assists. This one here, she finds Honeycutt in quick transition. Honeycutt adds 13 and 7. It's close, but Missouri Southern gets the job done 55-47.
We're a team that really doesn't give up. You know, we kind of push each other because we all know we're better. You know, in games like that, you either play up or you play down to your opponent's level. And I felt like we played down a little bit, but, you know, we know we're better than that. And in the locker room, you know, we regrouped, we talked, and we said, you know, we're just going to have to execute what we can in order to push through and win this. Those plays are huge, you know, the extra effort plays. You know, in the end, when games are close like that, it's the team that gives the most effort. And I feel like, you know, towards the end of that game, that's what we stepped up and did in order to pull off that win.
The men aim to sweep the season series against the Riverhawks. Last meeting, the Lions won a 1-point game. Opening minutes, Winston Desiso hits the corner 3. Later, Avery Taggart spins, lays it in, 15 points for him. Then it's Stan Scott. He hits the jumper. He goes off again, 21 points, 14 rebounds. Right before half, been waiting for this RJ Smith dunk. He is back, first game since November. He gets a standing ovation tonight. And coming out of the break, Christian Bundy banks it in off the glass. And then it's his turn to show off a little bit. Two-handed jam here, 13 points. Really fun game. Missouri Southern wins their third straight, 77-66.
It's good to get RJ back out on the floor, and I thought he gave us a lot of energy. But especially these last 3 games, our mindset has just changed as far as how we're going to guard. We need all the confidence that we can get. And I told our guys after the game, if you will guard and play hard like you have the last 3 games, you're going to give yourselves a chance anytime or every time you step on the floor, no matter who you're playing.
The Pitt State women are coming off a buzzer-beater win earlier this week. They're 9-2 at home with another chance this afternoon. Pitt State goes to double overtime with Rogers State. The Hillcats come out on top, though, 83-82. Jamie Jackson, on fire lately, leads the Gorillas with 21 points and 7 assists. Tristan Gegg, Julia Johnson, and Karenna Gerber all finish in double digits as well. In the men's game, Pitt State snaps a 6-game skid with an 88-79 win over Rogers State. Quentin Hardrick and Ike Moore both dropped 15 points, and that's a career best for Moore. A big top 15 matchup at Allen Fieldhouse today, Kansas hosting Kentucky. Now the Jayhawks perfect at home this season. That ends tonight. Kansas gets upset big time, 80-62. The Jayhawks leading scorer Ochai Agbaji, he averages 21.3 points per game, was held to 13 in this one tonight. We're back right after this.
A high-tech Ford SUV that's good for the environment. Fox's Gary Gastelou takes a look at the Ford Escape plug-in hybrid.
The future of Ford's compact SUVs may be the all-electric Mustang Mach-E, but it's still got something for those who aren't quite ready to go all in. This is Ford Escape plug-in hybrid, which combines a 4-cylinder engine with electric drive. It can operate either as a hybrid all the time or as a fully electric vehicle on shorter drives. And it offers a variety of drive modes to let you decide when it's doing what. The Escape plug-in hybrid is otherwise mostly identical to the rest of the Escape lineup, which includes a conventional hybrid. Its cabin is smaller and more simply styled than many of its competitors, but comfortable and very quiet. The latter especially important for a vehicle that can operate in silent electric mode. This can go up to 37 miles between charges, which take about 3.5 hours on a 240-volt station or overnight on a regular home outlet. And if you start every day with a full charge, the typical American driver will see the equivalent of 105 miles per gallon worth of efficiency. But even when it's in hybrid mode, it gets 40 miles per gallon. Big difference is when this is in all-electric mode, it only has 118 horsepower, which doesn't sound like a lot for a vehicle this size. But guess what? It's more than enough. This is fine on a hilly road like this or on the highway, but if you do need a little extra power, you can engage the gas engine anytime you want by pressing this button, which unleashes the full fury of 221 horsepower, which still isn't all that much, but the regular hybrid only has 200. It also gets 41 miles per gallon in front-wheel drive models, but unlike this, is available in an all-wheel drive version that still gets 40 miles per gallon. But aside from the zero emissions capability, there's a very good reason to buy this one instead. This has a starting price of $34,320, but since it's a plug-in, it qualifies for a federal tax credit that in this case is $6,840, which brings that price down to $27,480. But Ford's almost used up all its credits, so that's going to start going down pretty soon. In the meantime, however, this cost about $2,000 less than the regular hybrid Escape. I'd love to find the car salesman that can make sense of that. In the Ford Escape plug-in hybrid, Gary Gastelou, Fox News.
Up next, when they put you under for surgery, a common fear is you'll wake up during that surgery. We'll bring you the story of one woman in India who did something a bit different. A woman in India having an operation hit just the right notes of calmness by singing when her anesthesia didn't hold up. The woman, who is a classical singer, was receiving a delicate operation for an extreme lung cancer. An epidural anesthesia was given due to operation risks, but it didn't quite hold long enough. The woman woke up, heard music in the operating room, and asked about it, causing the quick-thinking operating team to just go with the flow. They encouraged her to sing along while they got through her surgery. That's something I remember. I was younger. The first surgery I had, I absolutely was terrified about waking up through it and finding myself in a very painful position. But thankfully that did not happen. And hopefully that doesn't happen to any of you either. Hopefully you can avoid surgery altogether. That's going to be our time for now. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to see you back here tomorrow night. Thank you so much for making us part of your night.